A pair of Ray-Ban Wayfarers cost between $5 and $8 to manufacture. The frame, the lenses, the hinges, the logo stamped on the arm, all of it, but you will pay $249 for them at the mall. The reason isn't quality or the material used, but that one company controls almost every part of the eyewear industry on Earth. It makes the glasses, it owns the stores that sell them, it runs the insurance plan that pays for them, it owns half the competing brands on the shelf next to each other. It's been doing this in plain sight for over 6 decades, while 4.4 billion people on this planet who need corrective lenses pay whatever price gets put in front of them. The company is EssilorLuxottica. The man who built it was an orphan from Milan, and the city in China quietly tearing the whole thing apart has fewer than 1 million people and a name most of the world has never heard. Leonardo Del Vecchio was born in Milan in 1935. His father, a street vendor, died before he was born. His mother couldn't support 5 children, so at age 7 she placed him in an orphanage run by nuns. He stayed there through his school years. At 14, he was apprenticed to a tool and die maker, small, precise metalwork, cutting and shaping parts by hand. It cost him part of a finger in an accident. It also taught him a skill most people didn't have. In 1961, at 26, Del Vecchio opened a small workshop in Agordo, a town in the Italian Dolomites that the local government was practically giving away land to attract. He wasn't making complete glasses, just parts. Hinges, temples, nose pads, sold wholesale to other eyewear companies. Nobody outside the valley knew it existed. Over the next decade, he moved from making parts to making frames, from making frames for others to launching his own brand, from his own brand to buying other people's brands. He called the company Luxottica. Every step was deliberate. He never stopped building it until the day he died. In 1990, Del Vecchio listed Luxottica on the New York Stock Exchange. He used the money to buy Vogue Eyewear, 1990, LensCrafters, 1995, a hostile takeover of U.S. Shoe Corporation, a company 5 times Luxottica's size. Sunglass Hut, 2001, adding over 3,000 retail locations. Ray-Ban, 1999, for $640 million. Analysts said he overpaid. Before Del Vecchio, a pair of Ray-Ban Wayfarers sold for about $30, the kind of thing you'd grab at a gas station. He pulled them out of gas stations and drugstores, put them in Sunglass Hut and LensCrafters, stores he now owned, and repositioned Ray-Ban as a premium brand. Within a few years, the same glasses were selling for $150. Today, they're over $200. The only thing that changed was who owned the name and what they decided to charge for it. In the early 2000s, Oakley was one of the biggest names in eyewear, independent and selling extremely well inside Sunglass Hut, which Luxottica owned. Then Oakley got into a pricing dispute with Luxottica. Luxottica pulled Oakley's products from Sunglass Hut shelves. Overnight, Oakley lost access to the largest specialty sunglasses retailer on the planet. Its stock price roughly halved, not because people stopped wanting it, but because one company controlled the shelf space and decided to take it away. Then, in 2007, with Oakley's stock still depressed, Luxottica bought it for $2.1 billion. The company that controlled the store had starved the brand, watched its value collapse, then bought it at a discount. Once Oakley was inside Luxottica, it went straight back on the shelves. Prices went up. Nobody challenged Luxottica on pricing again. After Oakley, Luxottica signed licensing deals with fashion houses that wanted their name on eyewear without doing any of the actual work. Prada, Chanel, Versace, Armani, Burberry, Dolce & Gabbana, Ralph Lauren, Tiffany, Michael Kors, Coach, Valentino, Tory Burch. The fashion house lends its logo. Luxottica designs, manufactures, distributes, and sells the frame in its own stores. The fashion house collects a royalty. You pay $350 for a frame that came off the same line as an $80 pair 2 shelves down. In 2018, Luxottica merged with Essilor, the world's largest lens manufacturer, to form EssilorLuxottica, now controlling the frames and the lenses. And it owns one more piece most people never clock: EyeMed, the second largest vision insurance provider in the United States, with tens of millions of members. So when your insurance says frames are covered up to $150 at participating retailers, the insurer, the retailer, and the manufacturer are the same company. You are never touching a competitive market. Every step of the transaction was designed by one entity. Just picture that same scenario in any other industry. Ford building every car, owning every dealership, running the second largest auto insurer with no competing manufacturer on the lot. People would call that a scandal. In eyewear, most people don't even know it's happening. Del Vecchio died, by the way, in June 2022 at 87, the second richest man in Italy. The machine kept running without him. Danyang is a small city in Jiangsu province, about 2 hours from Shanghai by high-speed rail, population under 1 million. Nothing about it suggests it's the center of anything. Its nickname is the glasses capital of the world, and the numbers back it up. Danyang makes over 400 million spectacle lenses a year, roughly half of every lens produced on Earth. It also produces over 100 million pairs of frames annually, about a third of China's total frame output. More than 1,600 companies, over 50,000 workers, and export sales that topped $660 million in 2022. The industry started almost by accident. In the 1960s, young workers trained in optical factories in Shanghai and Suzhou were sent to the Danyang countryside during a period of political upheaval. They brought grinding and lens-making skills with them. Small workshops formed, then multiplied. By the 1980s, an entire cottage industry existed around lens production. Crude equipment, inconsistent quality, but a fraction of the cost of European or Japanese manufacturers. Through the 1990s and 2000s, that changed. The local government invested in industrial parks and brought in foreign technology. In 2014, Danyang's Dingxin Machinery built China's first domestically produced lens coating machine, breaking a foreign monopoly on the equipment that applies anti-reflective and scratch-resistant coatings. Today, Danyang factories produce multi-layer coated, blue light filtering, UV protective lenses that independent testing shows can match the optical performance of lenses, costing 10 to 20 times more. Some of those same factories supply lenses that end up inside frames sold under Western brand names in Western stores. Different box, same lens. Zenni Optical figured this out in 2003. Buy lenses and frames directly from Chinese manufacturers, sell online, skip the retail rent, the licensing fees, and the Luxottica markup entirely. A full pair of prescription glasses on Zenni starts under $10. Frames rarely top $50. Zenni has sold more than 50 million pairs, not a niche player, a mass-market alternative that exists because Chinese factories can make the same product for a fraction of the price and ship it straight to your door. Warby Parker took the American retail route. Its founders have told the story publicly. One of them lost his glasses on a trip, got quoted $700 for a replacement, and thought about the fact that his smartphone, containing a processor, a camera, GPS, and a cellular radio, had cost him less than 2 pieces of bent plastic and glass. Warby Parker launched in 2010 at $95 a pair, grew to over 200 stores, and went public in 2021 at a valuation over $6 billion. It didn't end Luxottica's dominance. It proved people will switch the second someone offers a credible alternative at a price that doesn't feel like a shakedown. Pick up a $249 pair of Ray-Ban Wayfarers at Sunglass Hut, then order a $22 pair from an online retailer, and there's a real chance the lenses in both came out of the same city, maybe the same industrial park, on production lines run by the same equipment. The factory doesn't care whose logo goes on the arm. Its margin is roughly the same whether the lens lands in a $300 frame or a $15 one. The only thing that changes is what the customer pays at the other end. You're not paying $227 for a better lens, to be honest. You're paying it for a logo, flattering store lighting, and a pricing structure that's been unchallenged for 60 years. That's starting to crack. In the US, the share of prescription glasses bought online rose from under 3% in 2015 to over 15% in 2025, and it's higher among younger buyers. Every percentage point that shifts online is a percentage point that bypasses EssilorLuxottica's retail network. EssilorLuxottica isn't going anywhere soon. It reported over 28 billion euros in revenue in 2024, and it's still the dominant force in eyewear by a wide margin. But the pattern is familiar. The music industry thought piracy was a phase, taxi companies thought Uber was a gimmick, bookstores thought Amazon was a novelty. Incumbents always assume the disruption stays in the margins. It never does. 4.4 billion people need corrective lenses, more than half of humanity. For decades, a huge share of them paid whatever price one vertically integrated company decided to set. Now, a city most people have never heard of is making the same product at the same quality for a fraction of the cost, and shipping it directly to anyone willing to ask the question EssilorLuxottica never wanted asked. Why does this cost so much? The frame cost $5 to make. One company owns the brand, the store, the lens, and often the insurance that paid for it. Does that change what you buy next time? Drop it in the comments.